4 of Wired In. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about Googlefying your business, so getting found online, and what are some of those easy preps that you can do to get your website ready. It's no secret that Google is one of the top search engines. I think it has about 75% of the market share now. So really it should come as no surprise that generating traffic on there can either make or break your website. So this will be a 4-part series on how to kind of get your website ready. And there's a few free tools that I've come across just in my research. And where I think it's really beneficial to start is websitegrader.com. And it's so simple. You just run your website through there, run your URL through there, and it'll pinpoint where you need to make improvements. And it'll give you a grade on what your website is. Another thing that you should sign up for is Google Webmaster Tools. And it's free to set up, and it'll, again, run your website. It'll check everything there, and it'll test your crawlers and your keywords, tell you what's being searched, and really give you some really good insights on your traffic. It'll also kind of walk you through on setting up your sitemap or submitting your sitemap to Google, which also helps with getting it indexed. Another key thing to do is, though Google, it's always crawling the web and picking up pages to add to its index, but to help get that ball rolling, it's usually good to add your URL to Google, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes. It's very easy to do, takes a couple seconds, and it's free. And then again, submitting your sitemap, it's another way to just help Google index your site. And then setting up a Google Analytics free account. And once you go to the Google Webmaster Tools page, it'll walk you through all of this. And they even have a guideline that you can check off as you get your site ready. And then I recently spoke with Chuck Reynolds, and he also reminded me, don't forget about Bing and Yahoo. Though they don't have quite the market share that Google does, they're still up there, and they definitely matter. And I recently sat down with Chuck and talked to him a little bit about just how to improve where you show up in search results. So we'll flip it over to that interview, and I'll meet you back up on the flip side. What are some simple steps that someone can take just for kind of preparing their site to be found online?
Basic things like, make sure you have clean code. Make sure there's a well-defined title tag, an individual title tag for each page. Good description tag. Keywords, you can throw them in there, not a big deal. But just good content, so, H1s, good headers with content. Mostly it's about good content and good architecture, and it's easy to find, not like a Flash encapsulated navigation that search engines can't go in that and navigate through that. So good content, good structure is a good place to start, and Google's pretty much going to find you on its own. So.
Oh, okay. So do you usually recommend people don't use Flash at all?
Depends who you talk to. Flash is okay, just not for a whole site, or not for main navigation things. Flash is good for components of sites. So, you have your site all built and you have this section that you want to do something. That's cool, but having your whole site encapsulated in Flash, search engines can't read that data. They can a little bit, and I have a post on my blog about that, but that's another argument. But essentially, search engines cannot read through Flash. So yeah, Flash as a whole, all your content and everything in Flash would be a bad idea.
What do you think about Google's Webmaster Tools?
I think they're good. I set up all my sites in it. Obviously, Google is about 75% market share, so they have a lot of say in what happens in search, is in the whole world of search. So the Webmaster Tools are cool. It'll let you know any problems with your site, crawling problems. So the bot's I can't crawl these sections, or it'll tell you what, 404 pages, what pages you can't find. Errors. they'll give you some suggestions on, hey, you got 10 pages that have the same exact title. We suggest not to do that. But also it validates your site in Google to the point where you put a little file on your site and it says, okay, we validated, that's yours now. So here's the stats and here's the stuff. It's good too. You can select canonical, so you can have your, is your site, do you want it to show up as www.blank.com or do you just want it to be blank.com?
Does that matter?
It does, because essentially both of those are two separate domains. So when you hear about all this canonical things with search engines, if you have, what's the site again? Yours?
Wired PR Group.
So if you have wiredprgroup.com, you have www.wiredprgroup.com, and you have wiredgrouppr.com/index.php. Those are 3 different landing pages to search engines because they're different addresses. So a canonical situation would redirect in 301, permanently redirect that all into wiredprgroup.com. So you hear a lot of that. In Google search, the webmaster tools will kind of help you select that. And just be like, which one do you want to show up? Personal preference, doesn't matter which one. I like the without www. Just me. It's cleaner, more minimal. It doesn't matter. It just matters that you file them all into one and make sure there's one thing. So in search, you're not coming up in these different things because it's just essentially it gets into duplicate content. But yeah, the webmaster tools are good. You can set geographic locations. So if you're an international site, you can let it go. If you're want to focus on the United States, which most personal blogs, most small businesses, it's good just to kind of focus that and tell it, U.S. only, and kind of locks that in. Bing and Yahoo have their own. I noticed you had a question in there about Bing, so we can get to that later. But yeah, Webmaster Tools, it's a simple thing, 5 minutes to get in there, validate your site. It's not going to make you number 1 on Google, but it's definitely one of those things that, yes, it's kind of helpful to do, and it gives you some more information about your site and where you stand. So yeah, every single site I ever touch, I do it in Yahoo Webmasters, Bing Webmasters, and Yahoo calls it Site Masters or Site Explorer. I forget, but yeah, I do it in all 3. You set it up in all 3 in 10 minutes maybe, and Yahoo kind of gives you some similar data. They're putting more, they keep building into it. Eventually Yahoo's probably going to be part of Bing, so there might not be the Yahoo Site Explorer thing anymore, but Bing is slowly kind of adding that kind of stuff in. Again, it's just a real simple validation, and it does not hurt to do it. So.
And then that kind of walks you through putting your sitemap in there, right? Your sitemap?
Not necessarily. You can add it to that, so you can say, hey, here's my site, it's validated. So also, okay, now I have a sitemap, and there's a section, you go, do you have a sitemap? Yes. What kind of sitemap? You can add RSS feeds, you can add some different structured data to it, but essentially if you have a sitemap.xml, you just tell it where it is. So runweb.com, and you go, okay, sitemap.xml, and it goes. Again, it just kind of sucks that in. It tells you if it's structured properly, if you built it right, and it just tells you how many pages it's indexed, when's the last time it's ran. So it's just good little information just to know that Google's been checking out your site without you having to be like an IT guy and searching your server logs and stuff.